It is not just about the picnic tables, right? The structures where we can gather so that we can listen to each other. It's not just about, although extremely important to show up with love and open hearts, but in that process to also face ourselves, to connect with ourselves. And I think perhaps in the face of systems that fragment us, in the face of what I would categorize as ecosystems obsessed with individualism, to truly hold an ecosystem, one of the most radical things that we could do is to acknowledge the wholeness that's inherent in each one of us, and Kim has reminded us of that. And at the same time, because those systems are yet to be fixed, because those systems that will fully uphold the entirety of our humanity are yet to be fulfilled, we need to hold faith. Faith in our capacity to arrive at that place. And our next storyteller, well, faith is the entirety of her story. So allow me to introduce you to, get ready, Aurea Garvin. We see you, we hear you. So Aurea Garvin is the Director of People and Culture at Salt and Light Ministry, where she leads efforts to shape organizational policies and provide resources to staff. Born and raised in Champaign, Illinois, she holds a bachelor's degree in business administration from Indiana Tech University. With experience in social services and assisted living communities, Aurea is driven by her passion for serving others, which led her to become a consumer scholar with the Camden Coalition. Please help me to welcome Aurea.
For as long as I can remember, faith, family, and community have been the heart of my life. These values were instilled in me from a young age, and they have helped develop the way I navigate my challenges and see the world. I remember around the age of 6, we moved into a new home. It was an event filled with joy, love, and my mom's family. They came from Puerto Rico and Chicago to help us move. My mom's family is large, vibrant, and full of life. They love food, music, and being together. Any occasion is an occasion to celebrate. Moving day was no different. We painted up our new house together, moved furniture in, and got everything settled. I recall walking into the kitchen and inhaling the familiar scents of rice, beans, and meat cooking in sofrito, the smells of home. It wasn't until I got older I realized not everyone has that sense of community. Many others live in homes with scattered boxes for months after moving in, but for us, everything was in its place right away, and the house was already feeling like a home. This deep sense of community wasn't just about family gatherings. From the age of about 4 to 7, my mom made sure my brother and I understood the importance of helping others. We would spend weekends at the assembly hall packing sandbags to send to flood-stricken areas. Even though we didn't know the people that we were helping, my mom always reminded us that they were someone's family and that they needed support, just like someday we may need support. This idea of being a part of something larger than ourselves has stayed with me ever since. Years later, my faith was tested in ways I could never imagine. I was pregnant with my son Dominic. At 5 months, we discovered he had a giant omphalocele. That's a condition where the stomach sac is outside of the body as the baby develops. Doctors told us he might not develop a diaphragm and suggested we terminate the pregnancy. But my faith held me firm. We told them whatever is God's plan for our son, it will be. Over the next 2 months, despite more challenges and some questions from doctors, they continued to ask similar questions. We held on to our faith. Feeling uneasy about the care that my son Dominic was receiving, we decided to return to Illinois for a second opinion. The doctors there were incredibly supportive, and we made a plan to bring Dominic into the world. He arrived at 38 weeks, weighing just 4 pounds, 8 ounces. His early days were tough. He had respiratory issues, and the right side of his chest wall was significantly smaller than the left. He got pneumonia at 3 months old. This caused him to code and then he was airlifted to another hospital. During these long hospital stays, my community rallied around me. My family, friends, and church covered us in prayers, sent us messages of hope, and visited whenever they could. I felt held even in my darkest moments. Dominic continued to face health struggles, from surgeries to a trach and repeated hospital visits. We finally returned home after almost 2 years and in 3 different hospitals. The relief about going home was exciting, but it was also filled with lots of uncertainties. There were new challenges, like needing grounded outlets for our home. I turned to my dad, who had a friend that would be willing to do the work. When I shared these concerns with my pastor, not only did he pray for us, he made sure that the church covered the cost of our outlets. That's the power of community in action. Through the years, Dominic's health has been a roller coaster. There have been times he's required more ventilator support, and we had to find ways to make sure his life was as normal as possible. I wanted to help him stay mobile and independent, so I began designing a ventilator cart for him. But quickly I realized I was out of my depth. I then turned to my network of friends again. In conversations with some of my engineering friends, they suggested that I reach out to my local university. I sent about 20 emails with pictures of my sons, the drawings that I created, and the materials that I had bought for a ventilator cart. I said a prayer, and in a few weeks I was in communication with 2 different programs at the university. One was a professor that managed senior projects for the mechanical engineering department, and another was a program called MedLaunch. We ended up with 2 ventilator carts for my son. When he needed to wear a Boston back brace to help correct the curvature of his spine, it was another complex journey. In case you don't know what a Boston back brace is, it's a plastic brace that encases the torso from the waist to the armpits, designed to prevent the spine from continuing to curve. Undoubtedly, Dominic found it uncomfortable, but I knew if we could make it fun, maybe he'd be more willing to wear it. I reached out to our local car wrapping company and see if they could wrap his back brace with Thomas the Tank Engine. Not only did they agree, but they also donated their materials and times. In this process, I connected with the owner. He shared his experiences with his own son's health concerns and issues. We encouraged one another, and that was just another testament to the power of faith and community. Every step of the way, I've been surrounded by people who matter the most, whether through family, church, or the friends I've made along the journey. I've always known that I'm never alone, and even through the path that has been filled with heartache, it's also been so many blessings. The connections I've made, the faith I've shared, and the community that has cared for us, that's what I hold on to. Thank you.
Aurea, Garvin, we see you and we hear you. If it's certainly true that Aurea embodies faith, our closing storyteller for this morning is the complete embodiment of resilience. And on a personal note, I just have to say how incredible it's been to work with all of these storytellers. And Jen, how beautiful it's been to work with you on your story.